This is the hangman's noose. There were 3 people that were executed in this jail. If the rope is small enough, they will get decapitated. I don't tell everybody this, but I know y'all like that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up, if you dare. There was a manifestation back there. My son is an empath and he sees dead people. And he turned around and right here was a smallish man. He had bruises on his neck and he had a blue shirt on. He went over and he opened the squinter and he put his face up to look in like this and something said, "Get out!"
Gonzales, Texas. One of the earliest Anglo-American settlements in all of Texas, this small Texas town with a population of under 10,000 people surprisingly played a major role in Texas state history. A number of the defenders of the Alamo were sent from Gonzales in the wake of the massacre, and General Sam Houston at one point ordered the city of Gonzales to be burned to the ground, which led to the town becoming abandoned for a number of years. There are a lot of sordid tales that come from Gonzales, including that of John Joel Glanton, an early settler of Mexican Texas and later a Texas Ranger, who after the Mexican-American War became a terrorist and sadistic murderer. He was from Gonzales. But in the center of town sits the crown jewel of morbid Gonzales, the old Gonzales County Jail. This is an extremely spooky place, filled with a number of spirits stemming from executions, suicides, and possible murders. The night that I spent there with my father was terrifying. I'm telling you guys, I've been filming this show for a long time and I rarely get spooked nowadays, but the things that happened to us inside of that old abandoned jail, I can't explain them. I can't ration with what happened, with how I felt. Welcome to the Paranormal Files. This is the beginning of our new Haunted Jail series, and this is gonna get really spooky. Trust me. Hey everybody, Colin here. I hope you enjoy this brand new series. Jeff and I have been working our asses off to bring this to you guys. We have been filming almost every day for the last week throughout Texas, even after the massive ice storm that knocked out so much power and so much water. We were cooking dinner last week, Jeff, Courtney, and I, and we had to boil all of our water and couldn't drink the stuff from the sink, couldn't take showers or brush our teeth with it. It was a nightmare. But I just wanted to remind you guys that if you really enjoy this channel and you really enjoy these videos, all you have to do is like the video. Please leave me a comment, and if you feel so inclined and so kind, please consider becoming a patron, because we're posting stuff all the time on the Patreon, behind the scenes footage. I'm about to upload an entire episode with Steve Ronan, the urban explorer. We went to an abandoned Nazi sympathizer camp in Los Angeles, and that entire episode, it's almost 30 minutes long. We captured some crazy activity down there in the bottom of this canyon. I'm putting that on Patreon exclusively this week. So that helps so much because I do this full time, and if you guys would like to see bigger, better locations, becoming a patron or donating is the easiest way to help us do that. It's a lot of work, and you guys are the ones that support this and want to see it, so yeah, anything helps. But anyways, enjoy this video. Hope everybody's staying safe, and I love you guys, and stay spooky.
Hi, we're at the Gonzales County Jail. It's a museum now. It was built in 1885, and I'd love to show you around. Come on inside.
Thank you.
I'd like to show you what the jail looked like when it was first built. It was built in 1885, and this was the jail until the end of 1975. So it's seen a lot of people come in and out this front door. Come on this way and we'll look around in the hall. This was originally the sheriff's office and quarters, mostly just his quarters where his family would live. And it's actually where I grew up, lived here for 10 years while my dad was sheriff, and it was a very interesting childhood, I must admit. So if you come this way, this is the grand hall where everybody came in that same front door that you just did, and that could be visitors to the prisoners upstairs. It could be any of the law officials. It could be the family. You just never knew who was coming in that front door. When they came in, if they were a prisoner that was going to be interrogated, they would usually come and sit at something like this desk, and they would take all their information and ask questions and decide whether they were going to be guests for a while or not. Over here, we have a picture that was taken in 1912. It shows some of the different law officials, the sheriff and the town constable, county clerk, and the jailer. And this is the same door that you came in, except there's no sidewalk. So 1912 was a little different, but Not all that different, except that they had horses. In front, you can see some saddles from the time because they were still going after the bad guys riding horses. Come on into the sheriff's office.
Very Texas.
Yeah. Oh, it's a cool show.
This is the sheriff's office, and of course, every sheriff that was elected was able to use the jail building, the whole, all the rooms, any way they wanted to. So if it suited one purpose better, then they called it a different name. This was built to be the sheriff's office. This is a picture of the 10 sheriffs that served this building. The only sheriff that was killed in office was Sheriff Glover. He was killed in 1901. The rest of the sheriffs served pretty peaceful terms. This is my dad. He was the next to the last and the longest serving sheriff with a consecutive term. There were several sheriffs that had broken terms, and they would come back, they'd serve as sheriff, and then they would come back and serve again, out of office for a while, come back in. It was quite an interesting place in the center of town, I can guarantee.
And how did Glover die?
Mr. Glover was called, Sheriff Glover was called by a sheriff in another county that there had been a man accused of stealing a horse. His name was Gregorio Cortez, and he actually was probably our most famous prisoner here eventually. He asked him if he would go out and look at his family place because he knew he was supposed to be in Gonzales. When Sheriff Glover went out, they were asking some questions, and he actually took an interpreter because Gregorio Cortez only spoke Spanish and everybody else only spoke English. They asked if he stole a horse. It is said that he replied, "No, I bought a mare." The difference between the male and female and the horses. And anyway, somebody got upset, and Gregorio Cortez's brother actually started shooting because it was found later that he was a wanted man already. He started shooting. They were surrounding the house, and nobody really knows for sure if Gregorio Cortez shot Sheriff Glover or if actually it was friendly fire. We don't really know. They thought that Gregorio Cortez shot him. That started a manhunt that lasted for a good while and actually kind of reactivated the Texas Rangers. At the time, they were just about out of business, and so they started looking for him. They finally caught up with him about 8 miles from the Mexican border. They caught him, they brought him back to San Antonio, and then eventually put him in jail in Gonzales, and he was tried here and put in jail here.
Wow.
So that's how he died.
Crazy.
There's some things that were used in by former sheriffs. This is a fingerprint table that was used actually by my dad in the 50s. You can see you had to put your finger on the ink and turn it around and actually put it in different spots, corresponding spots on the paper. And they had to learn how to use these, and actually went to fingerprint school to learn to read all the swirls and whirls that everybody has on their fingertips.
I did that as a kid, like back in the early 70s. They took us,
Yeah.
our school, like I was in grade school, like second grade or third,
Yeah.
and they roll on that right there.
Yeah, you
It's
do.
kind of interesting to think like they get your fingerprints, right? You wonder if they can't
Yes,
keep
you
them.
are in the system
Yeah,
now.
you're in the system.
If they need to look you up, you're in the system. We have roll top desk that was actually used very, very early. One of the first items that was used here. And you can see this old radio, two-way radio. There's a giant picture here, and there's a reason for it. That was one of the best days in their lives as law officers, because before this radio, which was about 1954, 55, somewhere around in that era, they got their first one, and that's what they're doing, sitting there playing with the new radio. Before that radio, to get a deputy or a jailer or somebody to come back to the jail if they had left, they had to flip a switch, like a light switch, that lit a red light on top of the jail, 3 floors up, and if they looked at it and saw it, they knew to come back to the jail. And that's the only way they could get in touch with them. So can you imagine the difference this made? That was a red letter day.
Sure.
Crazy.
We did a lot of research on this building and actually wrote a book about it because when you start looking into these old buildings, these county buildings, you can't find a lot of information. And if you're trying to make a museum on early Texas law enforcement, there just aren't a lot of records. So we're trying to piece things together and be authentic and put forth some really good information.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go this way and I'll show you some more. Some more offices down this hall. This is the jailer's room. This is a pretty interesting room because originally there was a jailer here because there was only a sheriff. They didn't always have deputies. And so if the jailer was hired, this was a room that he could work in. So this was his office. It was also a room that he could live in if he wanted to. It had no outside entrance. It was just through all the corridors in the jail. And we have talked to some people that have come back to visit us in the jail, and they were born in this room, which absolutely is fascinating. This is a very small, oppressive room.
Wow.
But the jailer was important because once someone was arrested and put in jail here, it was up to the jailer to take care of him. He had to see that he got food. He got taken to the doctor if he was ill. He also had to go to the judge, and so the jailer was the one that was responsible for getting him to the judge and getting him back. And he kept all the records here in his office.
Cool little room. Yeah, I should find that out.
Almost every room in the jail has an opening for a stove like this. Because you think 1885, it was pretty cold, still is.
It still is. Are these the original doors?
No, these were put in, these are called boilerplate steel doors, and they were put in when they made rectangles. You can see right here, up here.
Oh. Yeah.
They took one of the arched openings and filled it in with lath and rubble, cement rubble.
Yeah, you can see.
And made it rectangular so that they could put rectangular doors. I think it was easier to make them secure if they had rectangular doors that were made out of steel, because I don't know what was original, possibly wood.
Yeah, but these are still old.
Yeah, it's 1906.
1906, yeah, I mean.
We actually have several things in this jail that were fresh off their patent. Like upstairs, some of the controls that operate many of the doors that open and shut, like you see in the prisons and things that automatically open and shut. We had actually something that was patented in 1886, and this is one of the first places they put them.
Wow.
This has no light. This is actually a padded room. It was built for mentally ill prisoners because when this was the time period this was built, they didn't know what to do with people that were mentally ill. They had no clue what to do, and to keep them safe, if something was going on, they would put them in here until they could get them to a doctor or figure out something. But this is a padded room. It happens to be padded with metal. I don't know. It quickly, as they realized what was going on with mentally ill people, it quickly became a holding cell, so that when someone was arrested and they were taken to the judge, they stayed in here until they found out if they were going to stay in jail for a few days, or if they were going to the state prison for years, if they were going to another county or state or whatever. So this is a holding cell. And if you look around, you can see that they pass their time by writing on the walls. There is a lot of graffiti on the walls.
Jeez.
And as we walk through, you will find some that you see all the time. You'll see it repeated over and over. For instance, here's Pepe. Here's Pepe. There is El Pato de Nixon. El Pato de Nixon. El Pato was very famous. In fact, he comes back and talks to us every once in a while. We visit with him still.
Wow. That's crazy.
What does
The duck of Nixon.
The duck. Okay.
I asked him when he was visiting with us one time, I said, El Pato, why? But you were in the jail quite a few times. And I said, you were pretty feared. He said, yes. And I said, why do you have a name that says the duck of Nixon? Why didn't you get a name that was a little more fierce or something like the wolf or something? And he said, oh, I didn't get that in jail. He said, when I was little bitty, my mom nicknamed me that because I like to go splash in mud puddles. So you just never know.
Wow.
Where's the Nixon part come from?
Nixon is a town 30 miles from here.
Thinking of President
Whoa.
Nixon.
Jesus.
That's every threshold is different. Okay, now,
Break the jail.
there were times when there were prisoners upstairs that were, as we call it, stirring the pot, and they would get people agitated so that they would fight because it was fun for them, and they would sit back and watch it, and then the other people got in trouble. But the law officers would figure it out, and sometimes they would bring them down and get their attitude adjusted in the dungeon.
Oh.
This is the dungeon. Right now, we are in flux right now, I guess you could say, because we are working on the museum with the interpretation and changing some things around, repairs, upgrades, restoration and stuff. So this was the dungeon. It is also clad in metal. You can see right here, This is the only place they got light or air into this room when it was closed and locked. I only know of one person that got put in here the whole time that we lived here. It only took 30 minutes before he decided he was not going to stir any more pots. He was not going to bother anybody else. It's a pretty dreary place.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, the only place you get air and light is there.
This is total sensory deprivation if you're in here.
Wow.
You cannot see this.
That's crazy.
You don't see your hand in front of your
So
face.
this would kind of like be the hole.
Yes,
you know.
yes. It had lots of names, but it was all to adjust your attitude.
Wow.
Yes.
I like the dungeon though. It's a good name.
hole, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
it's
the
got a-
dungeon, the
a
old days. It's a
medieval type
It's
of feel.
medieval, that's
Yeah.
for sure. That's for sure.
I'm more afraid of a dungeon than a hole. You know? Can we talk about the noose in here before we go up there?
Yes.
Before we...
Might be a little warm up time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, come on.
I
Mr.
know,
South
I'm just
Dakota.
Hi for that. I'm so glad you're thinking of me. This is the coldest Texas has ever been, I think. I know certainly in my lifetime, truthfully. We never, we get snow here about every 20 years, and I'm talking an inch or less. So we had
Crazy.
4 inches at our place. So
Wow.
anyway, when this jail was built, they were still executing people. They were still lynching people, matter of fact, but that was the illegal part. They were still having people sentenced to be executed, and the method of legal execution at the time was hanging. And there were 3 people that were executed in this jail. Now, back in those times too, they had people who traveled, and they were professional hangmen. That's what they did for a living. And actually, if you were going to have to be executed, you'd want a professional hangman, because that's basically the difference between maybe 7 seconds and maybe up to 10 minutes. Because if you don't do it right, you are strangled. So you want to be hanged. This is an example, it's a replica of a hangman's noose. It is 1-inch hemp. It is well oiled to keep it in good shape. It's smooth and it's been stretched. It has the coils that go around it. There is a myth that you had to have 13 because that was unlucky, but actually this is such a heavy rope that if you had 13 coils on there, you wouldn't be able to lift it. So actually what they did was use a sufficient amount of coils for the size of the person that was to be executed. So there you are. I will stop. I don't always like all the macabre knowledge I have.
Oh, we love the
I know you love it.
That's what we're here for.
What would be 6? Like, what kind of poundage would that equate to?
I don't know. No.
Okay.
I just know that you can only do so much, because what you do, the thing that works with a hanging rope, it's hanging up there. This big knot goes right in front of your ear, either side, but right in front of your ear, because then when you fall, it's like this around your neck. When you fall, when your body falls, it does this. That forces your head over with this thing, and that breaks your neck.
And does that thing
Severs
cinch
the
up?
tendons.
Like when they put it on, does it?
Well, it's coming
should
loose.
it?
Somebody messed with it, so it's coming loose.
They normally would put it on the professional and then cinch it down tight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it will hold unless you happen to hit the right strand, and you can't do that once somebody's in it.
It's a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
when you
I can see
actually
how
see
the
one in
heaviness, I
person.
think.
You see how?
Wow.
Yeah, if you had like, yeah, definitely. Wow.
It's very
It's
heavy.
interesting though to know that that's where you put the knot. I mean, I've never known that.
Well, see, in the movies, they show you smaller rope, and they do it right in the center back there. You know what happens? People get strangled. And it also, if the rope is small enough, they will get decapitated.
Thanks.
Really?
There is an outlaw called Blackjack Ketchum that was hung, and they hung him with a small rope, and his head went one way and his body went the other. I don't tell everybody this, but I know y'all like that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So cool.
Come on up. If you dare.
It's definitely cooler up here.
Yeah, we have no lights right now. We lost our lights the other day. This big area is called a runaround. It's basically what an exercise yard is. Or if there were...
Hold that out.
You're on a paranormal tour. What do you
Wow.
think?
Yeah, it was weird.
The light just died.
Yeah, and then it changed the setting. Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
They could add, if they needed more space, they could add more cots, more beds, more tables, whatever they needed in here. It's extra space. This is where they normally got fed. Here is a replica of the gallows that was here when I moved in the jail, January 1, 1951. A gallows just like this was here. It was not where it is now. It was moved over where they actually use it. If there's an execution, they pull it this way, and by the way, it takes about 6 guys to move this. They pull it this way, and then they turn it so that this end is over here in the corner of the stairs that go to the 3rd floor, right up in the corner. There was no railing originally, and the condemned man was locked in one of those cells up there. So they would move the gallows over, the sheriff would go up the stairs, the condemned man would be unlocked, walked out onto the gallows floor, the noose would be put around his neck, and he would be pushed off the side if they used these gallows.
So I'm assuming the floor is even.
There is no trap door.
Oh, I mean. Oh, really? No trap.
There's no trap door.
What would they?
Actually, outside.
Wow.
So now, that's what I'm saying. This was here, but I don't know if this is what was used to execute the people because it had been 30 years since anybody had been hung when I moved in. So there were 3 men. They were all murdered. This is their story. There is something associated with this room that was pretty famous, and that is, at the time this happened, it was the last hanging here. Albert Howard was the name of the man that was hung. He had to spend a good deal of time waiting for his execution for some reason. Usually it didn't take very long, but he had to wait for a while. He was accused of a particularly bad crime, cruel crime. He was griping that he was innocent. He kept telling everybody that would listen that he was innocent. He did not do this. And nobody would listen because everybody knew he was guilty. So he said, okay, I'm going to prove that I'm guilty because I can watch the minutes of my life tick away because I can see the top of the courthouse clock. So I'm watching the minutes of my life just drain away. I'm innocent, and it'll prove it when you kill me because the 4 faces of the clock will never tell the same time on all the 4 faces at the same time. They hung him, and the 4 faces of the clock, that was in 1921, the 4 faces of the clock never told the same time on each face until 1998 or in the 1990s when they actually took all the clocks out and replaced them and redid it.
Wow. What do you think? Do you think that's paranormal? Actually.
What I actually think, I think he was guilty as hell. And I actually think what my 8-year-old grandson happened to say was that man had been watching that clock. He knew they didn't tell the same time.
That's probably true.
So you can actually see a bit of another face. So who knows? I mean, I really do not know why it was like that, except that the clocks back then were open to the air. There was dust, mold, feathers, pigeon poop. I mean, lots of stuff to mess up mechanical works. So
Interesting.
I don't know. But,
Cool
I don't know
story
everything.
still, nonetheless.
So who knows? It could have been.
Chalk that up to
There
a
are other
mystery.
things around here that are not explained. So I will tell you one more thing about this wall over here. I don't know if you can see, there's graffiti all over the walls, up here, all over the walls. But you can see a particular damage on this wall. It looks like somebody wrote so much that they damaged the wall. That's not what happened. They were writing on this wall. Up until this became a museum, there were never any window panes, no glass in the windows. It was window openings, but no panes in the windows. So it was always open to the elements. They had a really bad problem with pigeons, and pigeons were coming in and nesting and raising their babies and making a mess everywhere. And so the last year that this jail was commissioned, there were pigeon babies everywhere, and in the last few months, the sheriff and the deputies and stuff came up with their 12-gauge shotguns, and they got squab for supper. So they shot the pigeons that they were raising and would eat them, take them home and eat them, and that's what the damage is. This is from shotgun pellets.
Wow. Poor pigeon.
It's a delicacy.
Yeah, right. Or I should say yum.
So that's what that is. And if you look back here, there are cells at the back. This is 2 floors here. There used to be a tower that went up right here, and there was a big, humongous mansard roof. They took that off about 1912, the tower and the mansard roof, and we have no records of where the stairs went, how it went on up, or whatever. So I can tell you that this is a 2-floor opening right here, and these cells at the back here were misdemeanor cells. That's basically people that don't hurt other people. They did minor crimes, and they were locked back there. There are high security cells on both the east and west wings of the 2nd floor and the east and west wings of the 3rd floor. You could put 3 people in each of those cells, so there was room for 12 prisoners in the felony cells, the places where they use guns and knives and hurt other people. That's what they were for. And there are some really good stories about some of those. And I guess you'd like to see some of them, right? Let me close this. And I'll show you what it looked like when a jailer was coming out. This is what you would see. And if you wanted...
Okay, I didn't
It
do
died
anything.
at the exact same
Albert.
place.
Didn't do anything.
Albert, stop it.
Okay, I didn't touch anything.
That's exactly where it died before, was right here. Remember
Yeah,
that?
we just came in here.
Right when we
That's
walked
right.
in.
Exactly where
That's
it was.
weird.
Weird, man.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, what the heck? Look at what's going on. I don't have no idea.
Albert, are you messing with us? We do have an Albert here.
Do you see?
Okay.
No.
Second.
I've never seen it even do this. Have you?
No.
Oh shit! That just killed the light.
Here, hold on.
Do we need a flashlight? Y'all have one?
Yeah, I can go grab another one from
My
the car.
gosh.
That just killed the entire battery out
What
of
the
that.
heck? Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, now what?
Thank you, Albert.
What? Should we leave it?
Let's just see if we how
Leave it
long-
at 50?
Yeah, just leave. Don't touch
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Jeez.
This is a safety precaution because the jailer or whoever was going to go look at the prisoners could open the squinter and you could see in here if anybody's waiting to ambush you. Or if you didn't want to go all the way in, you could just look and see if everything was okay.
Wow.
It's like medieval times, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, I don't know. We're gonna be kind of stuck if we don't have a light.
That is bizarre,
Okay.
man. Why does
I
it
don't
keep? Why would it turn on?
Okay, there it's fine.
Here.
Okay.
If it dies again, then I'll
Just
grab
hold
a
it.
different one.
Okay.
Okay, there is an avenue that goes all the way around this. You can see over here. This is for the jailer or a deputy or whatever. He could go all the way around. And the reason it's there is not only that they can look at the prisoners to see if everybody's behaving, if they're doing all right, but in the back is where all the controls for the utilities are. And there was also in the very beginning, there's an alcove on the end of the wing back there that had a wooden stove that heated this place. So he had to bring wood up and everything. So anyway, But here's where the prisoners were. There was a shower area back here, kind of, sort of. And then,
Very relaxing.
watch your feet. This is actually the security cell.
What does you mean a security cell? What does that mean?
High security
Oh,
cells.
high security.
High
Okay.
security.
Actually, I missed that.
Dangerous prisoners. Dangerous prisoners.
These cells?
Yep.
When you're investigating, you might pay particular attention to the last cell. There was a manifestation back there.
What?
This is where the toilet was. Do you want me to tell you this story?
Of
Okay.
course.
Okay, probably 5 or 6 years ago, there was a 17-year-old young man and his mother were just looking around the jail while his dad did business. And his mother was in the runaround that we were just in. And the young man came over here by himself. And of course, there's nobody in here, and the cells are so small you can tell if anybody's around. So he walked in here. When you walk in here, if you look back over on the side, there is a handprint of a left hand. It's just a drawn handprint. So he turned around and he put his hand in the handprint, and he got that feeling, and he turned around, and right here was a smallish man. He had long, scraggly hair. He had bruises on his neck and he had a blue shirt on. He didn't say a word, he just looked at him. So the young man got kind of spooked, and he came out and he tried to get all the way out, and as he's going out, the third cell, the last cell, that same man was sitting on the bunk as he's trying to go out. So he went all the way out of the jail, outside, sat on a bench out there. His mother went to see what was going on, and she came back in and she apologized to us, and she said, "I'm so sorry if that caused any problems." She said, "But my son is an empath and he sees dead people." So that was interesting. So I'm sure you will look in that a little bit more.
Yeah. Is that handprint in this room?
Yes, it's right around the corner there.
Let me get a shot of this. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
There was a prisoner named Bates that was counting off the time, but I don't know if that's his handprint. I mean, we have no way of knowing.
So no one even knows whose handprint this is?
No,
It's just
but the lady you met, Tammy, was telling me about a man that she had seen in the dungeon that was kind of a small man that had on a blue shirt. He had long, scraggly hair. I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah.
There's no prisoner that really matches that description?
Well, you know, they write names and they write dates, but they didn't really write descriptions, so we really have no idea.
Wow.
It had to be a long time ago, so it would be before our times. So there is a prisoner that was named Bates, but whether that was the same man, I don't know. But apparently he didn't move on.
Mystery. Guess we're good in this area. That's cool.
And this thing right here. This is just these people's exercise area. It's just a little horseshoe area that goes around here. They could just walk around a little bit without letting them out into the main area.
Wow. The courthouse bell is
Courthouse clock.
a little ominous.
This is a pretty cool bunch of history right here. That's why we're trying to save it.
Yeah.
These lock boxes that are in here had controls. They're locked up now. We're not that far along to undo them, but they had controls that went, see, all the way across, and they could open one door, two doors, three doors, this door
Is that the handle?
with the handle.
Yeah.
And you can actually go in here. This is pretty tight, but this is the
This is some heavy stuff.
yes, it is.
Wow.
It's been
Good
neglected
work.
so long, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. After a while, when you're investigating, I will give you another little key, and you can look at another security section that's on the third floor. It has steps that go down, so you'll have to be really careful, but
Can you take us up to the death row cells before we go back down?
sure. What is the proper word?
Oh, what the hell?
Okay, well, that's okay.
How is that possible? Like, look at that. It was on the entire time we were in the
It's okay.
other cell
Well,
block? That's
Someone's maybe
crazy.
messing with us.
Lots of, just be real careful. This is the door I'm going to give you a key to. Oh, no, it's open.
Oh, that's the.
Okay, this had a floor that actually, right past where you could use the control lever, the floor just ended. So if you took another step, you'd wind up back down on the second floor.
Wow.
I've got something across there, but I just want you to be really careful if you come up here. Okay.
And what is that again?
This is just another security cell.
Okay.
There's 4 security cells.
4.
So the people that were condemned would be locked in one of these cells. I think unless they were really full, they probably locked them in this one, because right below is where they would have walked them right out onto the gallows floor. See, this rail was not here.
Okay. That's the weirdest thing for this thing.
Maybe some good stuff.
Okay, maybe
This was not put in until this became a museum. This was just a walkway with no railing.
Wow.
So the gallows floor was pushed right up against here. So when that was open, it was the same height. They just walk right out onto the gallows floor.
That's what I was asking you.
Yeah.
If that's the same.
Yes.
Wow. So they just dragged that over here. You'd walk right from your cell
Yes, you see it.
to the gallows.
It's out of the way right now, see, so you don't notice it.
But they would.
These are more misdemeanor cells, and they have lots. We have 92 windows. We have been restoring windows. We've gotten 2 grants, And we probably will have 20 windows done because each window costs $2,500. So we have a long way to go. Maybe people will come see us and drop a donation in the box. That will be good.
So paranormal activity wise, what's the most common, I guess, phenomenon that people...
We have K2 meters that go off the charts in different places. At the top of the stairs right here is one place, right there, close to that door. We've had it over here. The man who has done ghost hosts for us, which is our own fundraiser, thought he heard something in the door. That door is welded shut, and I have to get it cut loose. But it's welded shut. Why would you weld the door shut? I don't know. But it is. But he went over and he opened the squinter, like I showed you. He opened the squinter and he put his face up to look in like this, and something said, "Get out!" So over there is a good place.
Yeah, it's creepy. What about you? Have you experienced much in here?
Do what?
Have you experienced much in
No,
here?
I have not, but I am one of those people that if I see a shadow there, I think, oh, huh.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I've been on lots of investigations and I hear things. I hear footsteps. I see the K2 meters going. I'm interested. I know that I don't know everything. I don't believe and I don't disbelieve. I'm just kind of open. I've seen too much to say, it's not.
Oh, right there! What kind of timing is that? Wow. Right when you said,
Yeah.
seen too much.
Well,
Why not?
We've carried on a conversation with the K2 meters with somebody named Albert.
And Albert was the...
Well, there was an Albert Howard that was hung,
Yep.
that put the curse on the clock. There was an Albert that was a deputy that I knew. I don't know who it was. This one actually told us that he was not a prisoner, that he was a deputy, and that he liked to use the blackjack. Now, I mean, these are questions that we ask, and at the K2 meters, this is what it led us to believe, because there was either a reaction or there wasn't.
And the blackjack, that little short black
That's the little, they call them a billy club, a sap, anything that you could go whop on your head and say, pay attention.
So what do you think at the end of the day is kind of like the eeriest, most active place in the whole building? People report this area has something to it.
From a little of my experience, but mostly from what other people have told me about their experiences, I would say the cell where the manifestation was is probably the heaviest. But the dungeon has also had a lady said she got pushed. There's one cell, one area of this place that almost every time there's a group and there are ladies in it, the ladies get their hair just like, not pulled hard, but just like, hey, I'm here, sort of thing. I do know that there were 2 black ladies that were arrested for something, and I think prostitution, I'm not sure. One of them was pregnant. She had her baby, the baby died. And I've had a lot of people say that they hear a woman crying.
Wow.
Baby died in here.
Mm-hmm.
How many deaths total? Is that...
Well, there were 3 executions.
3 executions.
And there were 3 suicides that we know about.
Really?
And then the baby.
3 suicides.
And where did the suicides happen?
I don't know. There is
No detail?
it's the records say there was a suicide. We don't know. I think one of them was in the section that we haven't gone into, that other high security under the stairs.
Interesting.
But it doesn't say where they were. So
Weird. I think they'd write that down. You know?
I should write a
Just
lot
for
of
records,
things down.
yeah.
I know. I wrote a book. What more do you want me to do?
Well, I think we're good, honestly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Keep this on.
Yeah.
That's this way.
Yeah.
Get down
All
on
right.
Yeah, when I start down those stairs, keep that thing up. Nigga.
Please, Albert.
Come on, Albert, please.
Hey guys, so we're on the ground in Gonzales, Texas. As we heard in the interview, the main story about this place is the inmate who cursed the clock of the courthouse. Now, just to give you guys an idea on the ground, that's the jail right there. If you look kind of through those trees, I know it's kind of hard to see, but the courthouse is right there. So that prisoner would have been looking up at that clock, and the clock was replaced, I think, a decade, 2 decades ago. But for years, it would not work. None of the clocks worked. So it's just kind of interesting. You don't really hear stories of curses that are actually true, verified by government officials. But here in Gonzales, it happened. But it's cold out. My hands,
We're going a little red and chilly. How are you feeling?
It is a little cold out. I'm feeling good though. I mean, I got my pimpin' jacket on tonight.
Yes, you do.
All right? So I'm feeling good.
All right. Hey everybody, it's Colin here. I just want to point out how strange it was that the light died multiple times while we were filming that interview. I don't know if you guys really followed what was going on with that, but the light was on strong for a very long time. Then we walked into that runaround area where the gallows were, and it died that initial first time. Then it continued to die in that area, only in that area. If you go back and watch the footage, that was the only place where this light that we had would randomly die. And we even filmed in that other portion of the jail where they had seen the guy with the bruised neck. It didn't die there. And we entered back then after that into the runaround area with the gallows, and it died again multiple times. The rest of the night, you'll see in the footage, it didn't die. I don't know, is that paranormal? That's something that you need to decide for yourself. But before we started investigating, something very interesting happened. A woman who was there at the jail that night, she was going to be sitting outside in her car, just keeping the building safe, monitoring us basically. She started talking to us about her feelings and how she's an intuitive and an empath and how she had felt these dark energies in the building. She declined to have her image on camera, but I did manage to get her to agree to be on an interview. So I'm going to play her interview now, and this actually goes to some weird places.